kol omer kra v'amar ma'ekra. Kol habasar chatzir, v'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh. Yavesh chatzir novel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. Achen chatzir ha'am, yavesh chatzir novel tzitz, u'devar Eloheinu yakum li'olam. A voice says, cry out, but I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass. All of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers and the flower fades when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of God endures forever. LeDavid Mizmor, L'Adonai ha'aretz umloa, tevel v'yoshveva, ki hu al yamim yesada, v'al nahorot yichoneneha. Mi ya'aleh bahar Adonai, umi yakum bimkom kadsho, neki chapayim uvar levav, asher lo nasa lashav nafshi v'lo nishbal lemirma. Yisav racham et Adonai, utzdaka melohe yisho. The earth is the Lord's with all of its fullness. The world is the Lord's with all of its inhabitants. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? She who has clean hands and a pure heart. She will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. It was the custom in ancient Jerusalem that if you put a red cloth on your door, it meant that your door was open to travelers, that visitors were welcome to stay at your home. That was the signal. First of all, I know your mother's favorite color was red. You told me that. And she let people in, and I'm not simply talking about the physical home. What I mean to say is that she was open to all people. She was open emotionally to people, non-judgmental. She was a good listener. You said she was a de facto mother to lots of people. And of course, you knew she was there for you. She was nurturing. You knew you were loved. She was approachable and affectionate. She was expressive with how she felt. Many felt able to approach her, and you felt that being with her taught you valuable lessons about life. You were raised by her. You worked with her at a certain point, and nothing took away the special nature of your relationship. She lived with great integrity. She used her heart, and she also used her mind. She expressed her emotions. She was very proud of her family, open-minded and open-hearted. She was so very proud of being a grandmother. Most recently, I know she served as assistant librarian in the Twinsburg schools. She loved life. She fought for life. She was an optimist, and she brought great energy and great spirit to everything she did. And she lived for activity. She had to be active. She always wanted to be on the go, never too tired to try to live. And she always had something of herself to give, especially when it came to certain relationships. You felt that way. Her great nieces felt a closeness to her as well. Although your parents divorced, ultimately they found their way back to having a friendship together. Your mom was a reflective person. As her life went through stages and changes, she learned more and more about herself. But she remained a compassionate person. From her younger years, she had always been close to her parents. She ultimately became a very important caregiver. She recalled childhood as a very happy time. And many people, as adults, have recalled how sweet your mother was. I understand she was the flower girl in at your wedding, right? Your wedding to Bob. Yeah. She was someone who was a great cook. She was able to cook anything. And her legacy now is in friends' memories, in customers who miss her, from clients who will praise her. And of course, in her mind, her legacy really was in her children and grandchildren. She was passionate about her grandchildren. It gave her pride to realize that when she was younger, she had looked up to her elders, and now her family would be looking up to her as a mother and as a grandmother. She gave it her all for the time she was blessed with on this earth. When she came into your life, you knew she gave it her all. She had a life spirit that always brightened someone else's day, and as I mentioned before, she nurtured you, she believed in you, and she was proud of you. She lived with a good name, and she died with a good name. I want to ask Todd to come up. Where's Todd? I lost Todd. Todd was over here before. Okay, good.
This is a tragedy, and let's not call it anything else. It is a tragedy. It's unfair to Lesley. It's unfair to Eric and to Bella, Maddie, and Winter. But I think when tragedies occur, you think about good times, and you think about happy times, and life is really made up of pieces of time. It's like almost like a movie plays in your head. And I always think about a picture that I have with Lesley. I'm probably about 2 years old in it. And she came to my crib, and I put my arms around her. I even remember the incident. Can't remember if I remember it in my brain or if I remember it in my heart. But we bonded at a very, very early age. You see, I had the benefit of being the oldest of my generation, the first great-grandchild of Ben and Jean Cohn. And Ben and Jean Cohn had 3 children. Sylvia, the oldest, who I called Mommy Sil. Phil, the middle son, and Sanford, the youngest, who was 11 years younger than my grandmother Sil. Sanford and Jeanette, my Aunt Jeanette, lived several blocks away from Ben and Jean Cohn on a street called Pennington. My great-grandmother lived on East 154th and Kinsman. And probably until I was about 5 years old, I spent almost every day at that house. And every day after school, Lesley would come over. And I spent a tremendous amount of time with her watching Captain Penny, which some of you might remember, and the Little Rascals. We loved the Little Rascals from that point until the day she died. We had catchphrases like, yum yum eat 'em up, remarkable, that fidget can talk. And that humor formed a big basis of our life. I really had a warm feeling for her when she came to visit my family where we lived on Kingswood Drive. I remember when she would leave, I would have a sense of emptiness and sadness. I mean, that's how close I felt to her. I remember when she went to college, and we all went to Holiday Sands, and that was her last day. She was very nervous about starting college. But that's where she was off to. I remember that my grandfather, Ezra, her uncle, would visit her at Ohio State, and she was so darn beautiful. He'd pick her up, and he'd take her to a restaurant called the High Lie, where he used to eat at all the time, and he knew the maitre d', and the maitre d' came out to greet my grandfather. My grandfather said, "This is my niece, Lesley." He goes, "I understand, Mr. Sachs, don't worry about it." And he sat them in the most remote part of the restaurant possible, and nobody found that funnier than Lesley. I remember her bringing Michael Shafran home to meet her family for the first time. And he entertained us that night from the beginning to the end with invitations of all his family, none of whom I had ever met, but those invitations became an ongoing part of our repartee. You know, the love I have for her is with me today as if she were still sitting here, and I suspect it's going to be that way always. Those memories are part of my life, and I'm sure that they will be part of the lives of her really wonderful grandchildren, Bella, Maddie, and Winter. But I want to share with you a more current memory. About 2 years ago, my parents had a big party. It was their 60th wedding anniversary, and it was my mother's 80th birthday. And Lesley came in a dress. She looked beautiful, as always. And I thought there was something familiar, and then finally she said, "This is Mommy Sill's dress, my grandmother's dress." She had that sense of connection to our family and a connection to the history of the family that kind of moved on. That night's pretty memorable for me because it was not long afterwards that the illness that she suffered from got the better of her. And then I learned something about her that I guess I always knew intuitively, but I got to see it firsthand. And Eric reminded me of this the other day. She never gave up. She was brave. She had tenacity. She never lost her sense of humor. And she was never going to stop. And sometimes I wondered, why is she pushing ahead so far and fighting this? And Eric said, my mother is by her nature a happy person. Sometimes we look and think maybe she had a tough life. He goes, she didn't look at it that way. She's a happy person. And then I saw the way Eric, who always looked like her and always reminded all of us of Lesley, he had the same warmth, same humor. I saw how he took care of her and how devoted and selflessly he approached this whole thing. And I realized that in this case, it's absolute that she's going to carry on through Eric. He has that love, he has that devotion, and she's going to carry on through Bella, Maddie, and Winter. So it was really an honor for me to talk about her because she was a very special person to me and my family. Thank you.
Jackie?
To my sister from another mother. With you, an hour was more than just time. It was a good talk, it was laughter, and it was fun. It was a time well spent. I want to thank you for all the hours you shared with me, for your never-ending smile, even through the worst of moments. Thank you for raising me to a higher standard as I shared your journey and watched how positive and stoic you were. You always called me your hero, but you were mine because you had a unique way of making everyone in your life feel special. And she did, as all of you know. Thank you for your friendship to so many and to the lives you've touched. We will celebrate your life by saying again and again, do you remember when? Do you remember when we did this or when we did that? Our sadness today is knowing we can no longer touch or talk with her. We will, however, smile a little smile as we all in our own way recall all the fond memories that we had with her. I will forever be grateful for your friendship, and I love you, Lesley.
Let's rise now for the memorial prayer. El mole rachamim shochen bamromim hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina b'malot kedoshim utehorim. Ana bal harachamim hastireha, beseter knafecha leolamim. Utzror bitzrechem et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach b'shalom amishkava, v'nomar amen. May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that she performed while in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. God is now her portion. May she rest in peace. And we all say amen. Let's be seated. We want to offer our condolences to the family, to Eric and Michelle, to Bella, Maddie, and Winter, to the beloved cousins and other relatives and friends who are here to remember her. The family will be receiving friends for the Shiva visitation today following services, following the burial portion of the service. That will be at the Malik residence. The address in Solon is 30700 Stratford Court. Again, 30700 Stratford Court. That begins the Shiva visitation today until 8 p.m. tonight. Wednesday, tomorrow, the family will receive at the Miller residence in Orange, 4060 Hemlock Circle. That's 5 to 8 p.m. So it's today following the burial until 8 p.m. tonight in Solon, and tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. In Orange. We're going to pause in the ceremony at this moment to allow us time to arrange the processional, which will be leading us to Bet Olam Cemetery for the burial. Please remain in your seats for another moment. The pallbearers, however, should now come forward.